Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
All right, so we'll start with the basketball transfer portal.
Yes, which, may I say, the NCAA men's basketball transfer portal also opening up in the middle of March Madness is madness. I know we discussed football, and it's the same concept here. We're in the middle of quote-unquote bowl season, in this case basketball season. There are 16 teams who, I forget what coach it was, said, yeah, I've got to go back in right now, prepare for the next game, but on Monday meet with my players and say, are you staying next year?
Right.
At the same time. Like, it's tough. You're asking a lot of your coaches. You're asking a lot of your team, because if you're one of these players, let's say you're the 9th, 10th man, may not be playing a lot, but a team may want you, and a team has an open slot, let's say as in Iowa, in a Power 5 conference, where all of a sudden you have a chance to play there because no one's there right now. Like, it's tough. It's a tough spot to put a lot of people in, a lot of coaches, a lot of teams, a lot of players, and it's just... I don't get it, Steve. I understand for every other team in the nation, yes, opening it up now is cool and all, but for the 16 still playing, for every team in the Crown tournament, the NIT...
It makes no sense.
No. Wait a month. April 8th.
It makes no sense. It should be the day after the last game of the Final Four.
April 8th. Open it up in April 8th.
Right. Same thing with college football. It should be the day after the national championship game. Well, I got to go to school in the spring. Hey. Yeah. I mean, okay. If you would like to have somebody who's sitting here who's got a lot of experience in life, things like that happen.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to have to do. You're going to have to somehow, some way.
And I guarantee you, if you gave players the time to actually think versus. Like, I've seen enough jokes about it now on the internet where there's players that would get back from the game and be like, am I staying or going in the locker room after a game? That shouldn't be a split decision. That should be something you actually think about and discuss and, like, walk through emotionally, because transferring isn't an easy thing to do. Like, it takes a lot of time and a lot of thought you put into it.
Sort of.
But you shouldn't have to make it within 8 hours. If your team's that finished playing Sunday late, and then all of a sudden you have Monday 5:46 a.m. the portal opens up. Like, it's tough. And right now there are a lot of players in the portal. I know Mackenzie Mbako just entered from Indiana. A lot of their players have been entering the portal piece by piece, of course, with the new team in, coach.
Right now, hundreds.
Yes. I believe 700 were in.
Hundreds
by the end of the day.
Are in the portal now.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not done yet.
Yes. I believe top 5 players as of 12 hours ago that were in the portal. You have Owen Freeman from Iowa, Oscar Clough from South Dakota State, Tucker DeVree from West Virginia.
But he's going to
Indiana. Isaac McNeely from Virginia, and then Josh Dix from Iowa. Those were the top 5 players in the portal as of last night.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, he wants to go from South Dakota State to a Power 5 program.
Like Engelstaff, I believe, from North Dakota, I think.
They want to go look at Grant Nelson of Alabama. He was at North Dakota State.
Yeah.
Okay, now, I mean, he turns an ankle, and it's like, what are they going to do without Grant Nelson?
It's a national tragedy.
Right? It's like, oh, man, but he was at North Dakota State. You didn't really care. So that's what Oscar Clough's going to do. Yes. He's going to do, that's the typical route. But we are in the instant panic stage.
Yes.
For programs. Well, what do you mean? Owen Freeman and Price Sanford and Josh Dix and Brock Harding are all in the transfer portal. Okay, well, you're the one that changed coaches. So, okay.
And
it was your decision.
Going in the portal doesn't mean you can't come back.
No, but it's rare.
Yeah.
It's rare. It does happen. It's happened here a couple of times with guys.
But it's understandable they enter. That's why I'm like, yeah, they should be able to look at their options. They should be able to figure out where they'd like to go, where they feel their best fit to A, have a chance to go pro, and B, respectfully now in the league we are, make money.
Okay. Javin Carter, great kid. great family. All right. He wants to start someplace.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He sees Caden Mingo coming in. Okay. All right. Knew for a long period of time there was a distinct possibility it was going to happen. Hudson Ward battled through injuries, fell behind.
Mm-hmm.
I think will help somebody along the way, but it's not going to. I would be surprised if it's a Power 5 program.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah.
Miles Goodman. Oh my God! Just slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll get to Goodman in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Down the stretch, the last month of the season, got to play the kids, got to play the kids, got to play the kids. Penn State missed getting to the NCAA tournament probably by 3 wins.
Yeah.
Okay? Or at least being on the bubble. Being on the bubble by 3 wins.
They would have been in the Big Ten tournament with 2 wins, which would have then given them a chance to win more games to then cement themselves.
3 wins to be on the bubble, 4 to be in the tournament.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If Penn State is sitting there as a 20-win team, and I think their odds of getting in would have increased dramatically. All right. So that's what Mike is fighting for. You're going to play the kids. No, the object is to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Okay, this isn't romper room where we're trying to get ready for second grade. I mean, no. You're trying to win now. You need to win now so that you're playing every game with the idea of, okay, what's the best chance I have to win? I mean, I'm not going to get into let me put it this way. 2 of the bottom plus-minus numbers on the team are now in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to.
It's
just the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is not the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
Let's play the kids. Okay, we'll play the kids. Start thinking, hey, let's get ready for next year. The whole thing. No, that's not how today's game works. I mean, I apologize to anybody who still harbors that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not real.
Yeah.
It's not the real world.
Nope.
Okay? You're trying to win today because I want to give myself the best chance to win today. Doing it your way, no. Now, did they lose games? Yeah. They won 3 of their last 5.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike was trying to win as many games as possible to, A, get in the Big Ten tournament, but B, also maybe get themselves with a swing some of these close games.
Yeah. Again,
right?
they swing 3 of them.
And I just don't, no offense, I don't feel like the 3 kids that are in the portal now were going to swing the 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
They just weren't.
Yeah.
Okay? I've seen them play exponentially more than other people have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I mean exponentially more.
Yes.
Okay? Not a little bit more.
Exponentially more.
Yes. Okay? How about on an everyday basis since July?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I know what they can at this stage of their career, what they can and what they can't do. All right? Miles Goodman, as a kid, I really like him as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
As a basketball player, he's got a ways to go. I mean, he has a ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you have that kind of height, you can't teach that part.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to need more work. And one of the reasons he'll need more work is when he got hurt, he missed a mountain of time.
Yeah.
And because of the nature of his injury, he wasn't able to build up his body at all. Okay? So now you got a double whammy working against you. And so when he's out there, he's just kind of doing things, but not within the structure you need. That's because of all the time you missed.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a lot of work to do. And he also, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes and what they do with him, because they think that I'm talking about the people around him, think he's a stretch player.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen evidence of that in practices, shooting, or anything like that. We'll have to see what happens with them. But everywhere I turn, the sky's falling. Well, everybody's got this. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everywhere you turn. Hey? Now, Ben Johnson ended up getting fired. Imagine how he felt watching Pharrell Payne play for Texas Tech and watching Payne play for Texas A&M. And Hawkins play for Texas Tech, who's still playing for Texas Tech. That was his point guard and his center a year ago. Right? That's the way it is. Now, I guess Kerry Booth is saying he's not in the transfer portal. Okay. So we'll see how that plays out. But everywhere you turn, they are dealing with this in mountains. In mountains. I mean, Ben, what Holcomb takes over at Iowa, he's going to look in the room and go, okay, where is everybody? I mean, this is what Mike took over. Yeah. Mike had to get 9 players plus a 10th as a freshman recruit 10 in 59 days.
Yeah.
So he had to change the whole roster over. Well, you also have to have the money available for roster retention, and then you have to have the money available to go out and recruit in the portal. And it's really that simple. Well, look what Dusty May did. All right, well, you know, how much money did Michigan pay for that? I mean, it's about money.
Yeah.
Hey, you think Vlad Golden came over in complete loyalty to Dusty May? If that were the case, the other 2 guys playing in the NCAA tournament right now from Florida Atlantic would have followed them too.
Tornadoes would have. Yeah.
Right? They didn't. They went where the money was. Okay? Danny Wolf goes from Yale. Now, because he's from Yale, he took his NIL and he invested it. Now, but, you know, Donaldson transferred in from Auburn.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Burnett was already a transfer. Roddy Gale was at Ohio State. Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, please. Right? He went to Michigan. That's their starting lineup. There's no homegrown player in their starting lineup. 0. Nada. Not one.
I saw a post this morning that was...
I mean, this is where all these people came from.
Steve, can you name where every single Sweet 16 team starting 5 began playing? There's only one team that has all 5 players that started at that same school out of the Sweet 16 right now. Can you tell me who it is?
Well, if Mason Gillis isn't starting, I would say Duke.
The only team is Purdue.
All right,
Duke has 4 of 5, but Purdue has 5. I'm looking at the rest of them. You have...
Yeah, Purdue, and they do keep everything internal. He rarely... Yes. Now, that's why when he got Jones...
It was big.
The transfer in, it was big because he was different than all the other players they had. In other words, a guy that can beat you off the dribble, late shot clock, he could get his own shot, he could make a play. But that's a rarity. They don't do that often at Purdue. Trey Kaufman-Renn waits his turn. Zach Edey, contrary to popular belief, waited his turn. Okay? Zach Edey was not a starter.
No.
Okay? For a couple of years. He waited his turn. Okay? Fletcher Lawyer probably should continue to wait his turn, but that's just a personal thing.
But I'm looking at this, and you've got...
But look at Camden Heide. Waited his turn.
Yeah.
All right? Suddenly last year, he's ready to play. Cox, the freshman, has waited his turn this year. Jakari Harris, they've kind of mixed him in there. He's going to be one of the next guys up for them.
Yeah. But I'm looking at this. Michigan State had 4 of their 5 stay over in their starting 5. Maryland had 2, of course, because one is Derek Queen, who's a freshman.
Right. They changed over that roster dramatically.
Purdue had 5. Duke had 4. BYU, I believe, had 3. Houston had 3. And then Tennessee had 2. And that's it. Those are the only schools with more than 2 returning players.
Right. Everybody changes up.
Like, I'm sitting here looking at the lineups. You have the Michigan lineup you mentioned. Auburn, Texas Tech. Is that North Texas, I believe? Yale and Texas Tech. You have that one. And maybe Texas Tech's lineup, actually. Yale, though. You have another one where you've got Iona, FAU, Belmont, Florida, Washington State.
Yeah, by the way, Belmont's got a couple of guys in this thing still. You know, it's like, how good were they? Florida Atlantic has three.
Florida has three.
Belmont, I think, may have three.
Belmont, I believe.
At least three playing.
You have on Maryland, they've got a Belmont player there. They have they have at least two Belmont starters.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got multiple players starting from all these different schools. You mentioned FAU already. St. Peter's has a player starting for a team, I believe Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've just got all these different schools that, like, no one stays. Heck, people are like, Janai Broom's incredible at Auburn. He wasn't there. He transferred in from Moorhead. Like,
right. Of course he did.
It is a part of the game now, is the transfer portal and the fact that it opens up in the middle of March Madness.
I know.
Like, you are objectively putting these 16 teams at a disadvantage because now there's less of it's more difficult for them to try and go get players.
First of all, for basketball, it's absurd to not have it start the day after the national championship game. The reason is the structure of the basketball clock is so much more friendly to everybody, athlete and school, because of the time of the year. If I open it up for 24 days or 30 days, whatever, so I go from April 8th to May 7th, well, say I do that. Well, guess what? At that point, the semester is over.
Semester ends May 8th, give or take, for everybody.
Right. Right in that neighborhood for almost everybody. Most people are on semesters now. There's still some quarters out there. And it makes the transfer a little more seamless. You were able to go to class and keep your whatever credits you want to transfer with you. And it's more natural. Doing it now makes no sense. I don't know who came up with this, but it makes no sense. I mean, even teams that have done really well this season, Clemson, for example, good player. I mean, good team this year.
Yeah.
But you know, Del Jones and Chauncey Wiggins are both in the transfer portal. Well, Chauncey Wiggins played a ton. He played. I thought he played pretty well against Penn State. And they've got players in the portal right now. The other part too is we talked about Oscar Clough, and is this the death of the small school making any kind of challenge in the NCAA tournament? Absolutely not. That's an overreaction and a hot take. So let's look, for example, McNeese State won a game in the opening round. Okay, 12-5. Well, Colorado State got within a great Derek Queen shot of knocking them off. There are still those kind of games available out there. From a TV point of view, the opening round is the round where if you can get a couple of those, whoa, hey, madness, great, wow, holy cow, look at that. But when it gets to this round, it shows it. It doesn't take long to look up the data.
No.
Okay? Cinderella has a shelf life. The lowest rated games in the round of 16 always involve Cinderella.
Yes.
The lowest rated games. Okay? Oh, that's right. It's Florida Gulf Coast. I'm sick of watching them. It happens. St. Peter's.
FAU.
Right? I mean, lowest rated Final Four, Florida Atlantic's in it. Now, I'm not putting these schools down. It's a tremendous accomplishment. I'm stating facts here. Okay? We're in the round now where's Duke? Where's Kentucky? I'm talking the ability to generate a rating revolves around, as always, the casual fan. Can you get the casual fan engaged?
Yes.
Duke engages the casual fan. Pro and con. Kentucky, okay? Pro and con. Okay? You've got heavyweights out there now, and people want to see heavyweights play regardless of how they were put together. Right? Let's talk about the name on the front of the jersey. The front of the jersey in this tournament means exponentially more than the name on the back of the jersey.
And let's say you are a casual and you don't watch college basketball a lot. Like we watch a lot all season. Let's say you're more of a football fan, but you hear Kentucky's playing Tennessee. You're like, oh, that's going to be fun. Because a lot of people have conceptions from other sports they watch, such as football, where you're like, oh, that's a rivalry game. That's going to be good. Or you're like, oh, who is Duke playing? They're playing Arizona? That should be a good game. I know Arizona's decent at basketball. They're a good school. Duke is, of course, Duke. Oh, did you say who's Michigan State playing? Oh, that should be a good game.
Cooper Flagg, Tom Izzo, right? Matt Painter.
Did you say John Calipari?
John Calipari's coaching.
You hear these, and you're like, I want to watch this. It's a part of it, and
that's getting the casual fan involved. And that's But is this the death of the small? No. What happens is they give you 40 minutes, and in 40 minutes you can win.
Yeah.
Okay. Villanova played Columbia earlier this year. They gave them 40 minutes. Columbia won.
Yeah.
Okay, now, if Columbia plays Villanova 10 times, Villanova wins 9. That was the one they couldn't.
Yeah. Okay. Earlier this season, Alabama takes on North Dakota. Trayson Engelstaff goes off for 40 points. All of a sudden, he's now one of the top 40 players in the transfer portal, and this dude is getting offers from all different types of Power 5 schools. Like, it's not the death of the small team. It means players who, let's say you're not the best. Like, for example, Kadir Copeland went to Syracuse. Great player. Syracuse fans loved him. Him and Malik Brown. Malik Brown takes one route, goes to Duke, and starts for them, and is incredible at center. He's now hurt, but he's incredible. Kadir Copeland says, I want playing time. I want to try and start and go to a smaller school and build myself back up, and I want to play my heart out for a team. Where does he go? McNeese. What happens? McNeese wins and goes to the first round and wins it. And then they go on to the second round. And all of a sudden, Kadir is starting on a team in the round of 32, which you wouldn't do at Syracuse. Like, it's not the death of the small school. Is talent going to leave faster? Sure. But is talent going to stay? Look at Max Amos from a few years ago. He was in school at Oral Roberts. He was there for next year, got them in the tournament a second time, and then left after that for, I believe, Texas. Like, he stayed. People stay. If they're loyal enough to a school, they will stay. But some players also will leave. Roberts in that school went to either a Houston or a bigger school afterwards.
Carr, the guard for Texas. I announced his game when Pitt played Penn State. I announced his games when Minnesota played Penn State, and I announced his NCAA tournament game when Texas played Penn State. So, Carr, I saw 3 different schools, multiple games. It's just, it's not college sports the way it used to be. What's been interesting to me is I'm going to be interested to see if basketball, especially in this era with the internal money being involved, how important will roster? What's become important in college football is roster retention. Penn State was able to keep its critical players, roster retention. Drew Allard, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen. You're going through the long, Dennis Sutton. You keep going through the long list of guys they were able to keep this season. For the upcoming year, where each one is announcing, you're like going, oh, man, that's big. Oh, that's big. That's big. Well, for all the attention Ohio State got with Caleb Downs and Will Howard and Simmons, the left tackle who got hurt and couldn't play, the vast majority of that team was roster retention. A big story with Notre Dame as to where they got was their older players' roster retention. Okay? And I've just told you about 3 of the Final 4. Where roster retention meant everything to them. Texas, close to the same thing. I mean, close. How do you heck do you think you're keeping Arch Manning around? Now, he doesn't need it, I don't think. But
you're able to keep him.
You're able to keep him. Quinn Ewers gets an extra year. Technically he was a freshman. I mean, it was a transfer.
That was the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole deep dive, and again the same story where just there's a bunch of people out there that don't know what they're talking about. Well, look, he's going to start for him. Like, no, he's never going to make it past the scout team. Right? And of course, they look at you like you don't know anything. You're like, who's he moving past? Right? I said he's only going to be there a half a year. Oh no! I'm like, okay. Then you never hear from these people again, and because you're just trying to tell them what you know and what the facts are. It'll be interesting to see the roster retention if now this money translates into roster retention on the basketball level. It has not yet. It has not.
Yeah.
As you pointed out, all the starting lineups of the Sweet 16, it is not translated into roster retention. Indiana gets Ware from Oregon. They get Ballo from Arizona to come in. They've done all these temporary fixes with the transfer portal. Now, Mbako was a guy they kept for a while. He's in the portal now. Renew was a guy they kept for a while. He's in the portal now. Right? That team's going to change over dramatically. I mean, Tucker DeVries is going to be the one running the show there.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, was the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year when he was at Drake. Okay. But this is the way it is right now. And it's not as if transfers have always played a role, and even here. I mean, one of the beloved players here in Penn State history is John Amaechi. Well, John transferred in from Vanderbilt. Glenn Secunda decided to transfer from Syracuse to Penn State. He made an incredible impact on what's going on here, at Penn State. I mean, so it's not like that's in the 90s that Penn State was able to get a couple of key transfers that were critical of what they're doing. It is going to be a far more difficult era in college basketball to go the player development route. You hope you can, and that's where roster retention money comes in, where you can take a Caden Mingo, for example, and develop him, right, who comes in already with what looks like a great base to start with, and then develop him into a really terrific college basketball player. Right? And you're hoping you can get more to that level where at least some of your roster can be developed. But everywhere you turn, like the pressure's to win now, to win today. That's why when I hear things during the season, I don't understand why he's not playing the kids. Oh, I don't know, because those guys there give you the best chance to win. Your goal is to win. Okay, it's to win today. Hey, it's not okay with the transfer portal. You're not out there playing cards for tomorrow. You can't. Nobody in their right mind does that.
No.
Right? It's not the 1990s anymore where, okay, he's ready to play now. Right? I mean, things are different from way back when. Joe Crispin's the point guard. Brandon Watkins is the backup. Does B. Watt stay here? Or does he transfer in this current era while he's waiting for Joe Crispin? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And I think the last time I talked to him was 2 years ago. He's coaching now. But these are the things that you deal with today that you never had to deal with before. Why do you think all these guys are getting out? Prominent guys are getting out. And do I think Miles Goodman has some talent? Yeah. Do I think he is behind in his growth as a basketball player right now? Yes. Because of all the time he missed. I mean, he missed months.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean he missed a couple of months. He missed months. Okay? Where he's not out there practicing. He's not out there lifting weights because he couldn't. Well, so now you're starting way behind, and then you're getting disappointed you're not playing as much. Well, there's a reason you're not playing as much. And believe me, do I personally like the kid? I sure do. It's an incredibly nice kid, right? So he's going to put his name. You can't teach somebody who's 6'11", 6'10", and 6'11".
Can't teach height, can't teach speed.
Right. And because of all the missed time in practice, because of all the missed time in the weight room, he's got a ways to go. But he's got the part you can't teach. And it's not as if he doesn't have some skill to him. He does have some skill.
Yes.
But he's very raw right now. And there'll be somebody out there that will look at him, and I don't blame them. Absolutely. But because he's in the portal, does it mean the sky's falling? No. Right? You just have to go out and find some players.
Yeah.
Right? You got to find more Puff Johnsons. You got to,
DeMarco Dunns.
More Yannick Conan Niederhausers. More DeMarco Dunns. You got to go out and find those guys. Right? Because guess what? Everybody else is out trying to find those guys. I mean, you look at Ohio State, a guy like Bruce Thornton staying there the entire time. Phenomenal. But who was one of the key guys they brought in? Parrish. Oh, by the way, who's their starting center? Akpara a year ago. Where's he now? Oh, looks like he's at Tennessee.
Yeah.
Everybody's losing people. And they're losing experienced people. Akpara was the starting center for Ohio State. He's now starting at center for Tennessee.
Cliff Omorui.
Cliff Omori was at Rutgers, and he's at Alabama now.
He's starting at center.
Right? Okay? It's just, that's the way it is. And that program is one where I sit back and go, okay, you bring in two of the absolutely top flight recruits in the country. And that's the record you got?
Oh boy, Rutgers.
And that was not a program beset with injuries. Okay? Now you're looking at the game the other night. In fact, you're going to watch the game coming up. Who's defending John Tanji on the final play of the game for BYU?
Who?
Mawat Mag.
Oh, where was he?
Rutgers.
Can I bring up something along with the discussion we've had of the transfer portal? You look at the portal and you say, okay, players can come and go in the window, and for whatever reason, there's not enough being brought up of the fact that coaches just leave when they want, and
that's what's caused. That's what's caused this.
It's what causes it. Where coaches are leaving left, right, and center, or Will Wade is accepting a job in the middle of coaching, and Nico Medved is being tapped to be this coach here, and you've got Ben McCullum here, and it's just like these moving pieces all over the place. Darian DeVries, if West Virginia's in the tournament, what happens? Like, all of these moving parts are happening, and then all of a sudden they get to leave when they want to, and then the players are the ones that find out after the fact what's happened.
Well, like they sort of get to leave when they want to.
They sort of.
The reason is the difference between a player leaving and a coach leaving. Now, obviously, the coach is getting more money.
Yes.
But the difference is there's no buyout with the player.
The buyout with the coach.
There's a buyout with the coach. And you're going to have... We're in an era with the $20.5 million plus all the additional scholarships. So now you're talking about $28, $29 million. Okay. Can you afford to do musical chairs and buyouts?
No.
I mean,
it's going to hurt.
Athletic directors need to take a long, hard look at their budgets as to what they're doing. Now, West Virginia is going to be the beneficiary of a buyout, which they in turn can turn into getting what I don't know is going to coach them.
But let's say West Virginia gets $5 million. All of a sudden they're like, we'll spend $5 million.
I mean, because he's been there 1 year.
Yeah.
So at 1 year, his buyout's got to be pretty high.
Yeah.
Okay. And now you're talking about Holcomb going from Drake mid-major to Iowa Power. You're talking about Nico Medved going from mid-major Colorado State to Power.
By the way, Nico Medved, Darian DeVries, and Ben McCullum, 3 straight coaches at Drake. Right. Pretty good hiring from the Drake AD. It's a pretty good trio right there.
Right. No, I mean, and they've done that over the years. I mean, Drake's been a really good program. Nice little arena. Penn State practiced in that arena for before the NCAA tournament. And it's like, it's a nice place. I mean, it's not big or anything like that. It's what it should be. Nice campus, out in Des Moines. It's really, of course, they have the Drake Relays there every year.
But shout out to him, 3 straight pretty good hires.
I mean, and they've also spent more money than most people in the Missouri Valley Conference, which puts them in a great spot. Medved, of course, been at Colorado State for a few years now because he was the coach when Penn State played them in Charleston 2 years ago. And he was already building a really good program there. But he was on the Minnesota 97 team. He's going back to his alma mater, the whole thing. It makes complete sense. But, you got Kevin Willard playing games now because Villanova's calling. Okay, simple as that. So coaches have had the ability to leave. I always love when I hear players need to hear a different voice. The players change all the time. Okay, I think the fans are the ones that think they need to hear a different voice. And they're always. I mean, you cannot put a price on the stability of James Franklin being here as your head football coach and now his 12th season. You can't put a price on that. You can't. The stability, having a program in place where when it comes time for roster retention, players want to stay here and now have the means to stay here. You can't put a price on that. Okay? And every time there's a loss, they've got this incredibly mature group of the fan base that wants him fired. Okay. Right. So in other words, you really want to start over. Like people think there's a magic wand. Well, look at Dusty May. Oh, for goodness sakes. Okay. They changed over everybody except Burnett and Will Cheddar. Yeah. Okay. Excuse me. And Burnett transferred in. Yeah. Will Cheddar's the only guy that
has been there.
Like, I came here. Juwan recruited me. It's like great. I mean, I'm saying though,
John Shire talked about this after the Baylor game. He was like, the only player who stayed after Coach K left was Jeremy Roach.
Yes.
And Jeremy Roach was ended up going to Baylor and then transferred to Baylor. He was like, it was emotional because being a new coach means everything changes. And all of a sudden, the only player who stayed, he was like, I'm forever eternally grateful for Jeremy Roach because he was the player who stayed, and that meant the world to me.
Yes.
That's huge if you get a player to stay.
When you change coaches, you are starting over. And you can give me all the Dusty May examples you want. You want a list of about 20 where it's a fight? They always pick out the one guy. Oh, what about, excuse me, we want the list of 20 where it's a fight.
Yeah. Someone's always going to succeed. It's kind of how it works.
I mean, is he a good coach? Dusty May is a good coach. He is a very good coach. And Indiana's timing was lousy because they stayed with Mike Woodson one extra year. When it looked like he was in trouble last year, they hung on one more year and in the process didn't get Dusty May. Now, maybe Dusty May doesn't want to go back there. I don't know.
But maybe he does.
I've only talked to him personally once, so I didn't sit there and go, "Hey, what about Indiana?" We didn't talk about that.
Let's hypothetical. Let's say he does. Khalil Ware goes to the draft. Let's say he comes in instead of Bilo, he gets Vlad Golden. Let's say he brings Golden with him instead. Yeah, but what happens to that team?
They don't have the question. Okay, but they don't have a point guard.
Yeah.
Okay, and they turn the ball over too much, and they make it's a mistake-prone team.
But there's what ifs. There's a million what ifs we can have.
So so he goes there, and to his credit and his staff, and to whomever they're backing is financially, they are able to get transfers out of the gate. Now, we talk about March 24th being the start of the transfer portal. Dusty May was hired before the transfer portal opened last year, so they probably had circled in there, hey, we got to go after this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. And you have a plan. You can do that. When you're hired later, you're playing from behind.
CC, Mike Rhodes 2 years ago.
Mike Rhodes was playing way behind. Way behind. right? I mean, to be honest with you, Notre Dame played from behind.
Yeah.
When they hired Micah, because they were all, they were already in a portal mode when they hired him, and then then Mike came in, and there are already names taken in the portal, so Mike started from behind. James Franklin, because of the sanctions, had 63 scholarship players his first couple of years here, 63 and I think 70 the second year. He started from way behind. Mike Rhodes started from way behind. Now, for those who argue they lost a significant part of their recruiting class, you're absolutely right. There's no question about that. Yeah. So they have to be replaced. So anybody who makes that statement, they're correct.
Yeah.
But the program has been unstable since October 24th, 2020.
Yeah.
Okay? It's been unstable since October 24th, 2020. That's the day that, out of nowhere, Pat Chambers got fired for, I'm not going to get into all the whatever.
That was the day Pat Chambers got let go.
Right.
And at that point.
In this decade, in this decade, the first half of this decade, Mike's the fourth coach they've had. How stable are you supposed to be as a program in the portal era when Pat Chambers is your coach in 1920, Jim Ferry's your coach in 2021, in 22-23, in 21-22 and 22-23, it's Micah Shrewsbury, and then it's Mike Rhodes the last 2 years. Penn State's had four coaches in this decade alone.
Crazy.
In 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25, they've had four coaches. Okay? Every time you turn around. Okay? Jim was just trying to maintain. Okay? Somebody in athletics said, when National Letter of Intent Day came up after Pat got fired, said, hey, could you send over a list of our recruits? And they had sent a blank piece of paper deliberately. Because guess what? All the recruits decommitted.
Yeah. As is their right.
Right? They all decommitted. Well, how far back do you think that sets the program?
Way far.
Okay. Now, so Jim really can't recruit. So Micah kind of does a skeletal deal. Right? They do a great job of forming what Dick and I referred to, Dick Girardi, and I referred to as a mid-major all-star team.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrew Funk, Bucknell. Now, Andrew Bucknell doesn't have graduate program, so he couldn't stay for a fifth year at Bucknell. That's why Nate Sestina ended up going to Kentucky and so forth. So Andrew comes here. Okay? Jalen Pickett, Siena. You start going through the long list of guys. Okay? They got what they could out of Evan Mahaffey, who, by the way, is back in the transfer portal. They got what they could out of Kebajai. They got what they could out of Kanye, as freshmen. But then when Micah leaves, everybody leaves. Well, and you're expecting Mike to come in with a magic wand and change everything?
He comes in, he says, I'll take Ace and Nick from VCU with him.
Well, there were two other guys he wanted, but they weren't. I'm not going to get into that.
But he gets Ace and Nick Kern. He then goes to North Carolina, gets DeMarco and Puff Johnson. Leo O'Boyle comes from Lafayette. Favor Ire comes from Miami. Rakew Mitchell from Kansas City. Qudus Wahab from Georgetown. Zach Hicks from Temple. He has to go and get all of these guys. He has to go get 9 different players. Along with
Froggy Goodmanson, who was the 10th guy. Okay, so you're just trying to do what you can to have a team in 59 days. To the credit of Q, for example, he really developed. You could tell right away, right, that, okay, it'll take, like where he was in the summertime, but he worked at it. Favor Ire, you could tell he wasn't going to make it. You could tell right away. It's like, this is going to be a struggle. DeMarco, you could tell with him. Puff, you absolutely knew. Ace and Nick, you knew. Zach, you really knew. Like, okay, but that's why the injuries this year hurt, because they did have that kind of team. But this is the way the landscape is of college basketball. I mean, Mike's been fighting from behind since he got this job, because the entire program in the last 6 years has been fighting from behind. 5 years. The last 5 seasons they've been fighting from behind. And I don't think people realize this is the second winning season they've had out of the 5.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of how it played out, it feels like it feels like they were 10 and 21, and they weren't.
No.
All right, and they won 3 of their last 5 to get to this point. So it wasn't like it's the middle part; it was the donut that killed them. Right, and that's where all the injuries got them. You're playing the game against Oregon. You do have Puff Johnson, but you don't have Ace.
And then Michigan State, you lose Puff 2 minutes in.
2 minutes in, and Ace is playing hurt, and it's like the long list of we've gone through the long list of things. But you're playing from behind. You have an entire population out there, a segment of the you have a segment of the population out there that thinks it's good to play from behind. You're like, what do I mean by that? Well, I want him fired. So, in other words, you want to start over again? I've watched them start over again 4 times in this decade. How many times you want to start over?
People want results immediately, but it's not feasible in it's not feasible in any sport to have results immediately. Sometimes it happens. Teams strike gold and things work and it's incredible. But do you think Duke or Michigan State got there because they just had Coach K and Tom Izzo for 2 years and then all of a sudden they tried to fire them? No, those guys stayed forever. Coach K finally left. John Shire comes in and they haven't been the best.
To his credit,
yes.
He has done a really good job because it's hard to be the guy after the guy.
He's done an incredible job, but Tom Izzo hasn't left, and what's happened? They've been consistently really good.
Tom Izzo, to his credit, was the guy after the guy. Remember, Judd Heathcote won a national championship.
Yeah.
And Tom replaced him. So it does happen sometimes where sometimes you strike it rich with an assistant on your own staff where the guy can replace the guy. Well, Tom Izzo did. Now they'd fallen back a little bit. But Izzo has stayed the entire time. Right? I mean, at Kansas, do you want to get rid of Bill Self because I've had 2 down years?
No.
Of course not. He hasn't lost the ability to coach. They just haven't had the right combination of players. Okay, well, I mean, I realize he's the one in charge of player personnel. But
at the same time, dude got them back to the title.
Right. I mean, that's why at the first sign of trouble, we've got to fire. We got to get this guy over here. You're starting over if you get that guy over there. Okay? Mike just finished his 2nd year. He's 2. Okay, and started late. He hasn't even officially been on the job here at Penn State for 2 full years yet.
This was his actual first full year.
Right.
This was his full year.
Right. So, okay, did it work out? No. Did this year work out the way everybody hoped it would? Of course not. Okay, as somebody who sat there and saw play after play after play every game, with the exception of the Illinois game.
Which you never want to see again.
No, but I'm saying that's the only game. That's the only game in 2025 I didn't witness because I was in Miami to do the Orange Bowl the next day. What? Okay. What? You didn't think I sat there and went, oh well. I know what the problems are.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know what the problems are. Okay. And the problem's not Mike. Okay? I can tell you. It's not. Okay? He has had to fight from behind. And you need somebody who's got some fight in him and some passion in him to right the ship. He has both. All right? And does he know how to coach basketball? Darn right he does. And look, okay? This is one I love. Everybody figured out his press. Well, it's true. They did figure out his press. Well, guess what? When they figure out your press, what do?
Change it up.
Yeah. That's if you have players who are capable of changing it up.
You know who's the most capable player of all of them to make that press happen? Puff Johnson.
Right.
Where's Puff Johnson? Hurt.
Yeah.
Like
I'm saying though, like you have to have the personnel to change it up that has the ability, not just physically but mentally, to change it up. Right?
You think he would have benefited from Puff Johnson and Eli Rice being there in that press? Absolutely.
Of course they would have.
And by the way, for everyone saying this past year was down year, didn't go as well as everyone wanted it to.
No
At the same
question.
time, the team from 23 to 24 to 24, 25, 10 players left. You had multiple players graduate, players transfer, like just across the board.
It's the way it is. They have now.
Do you think he wanted to have Jameel Brown? Of course. Do you think he would have loved to have Demetrius Lilly? Like, yeah. Would have helped to have more players returning.
Lilly, by the way, is back in the transfer portal, too. But LaSalle's changing coaches,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I understand what's going on there. But this is the way college basketball is today. Now, I'll never forget doing a game with Miami. ACC Challenge, Jordan Center. Isaiah Wong was one of their top players. Nigel Pack was not there yet.
Yeah.
And they had a guard who had started his career at Cal, transferred to Kansas, transferred to DePaul, and now was at Miami. He was in his fourth school. Charlie Moore was his name. It was his fourth school. And I remember I made the joke in the broadcast with Dick. I said, well, I got to give him credit. He keeps transferring east with each one because that's the order he went. He went from the West Coast all the way over. I said, I suppose the next stop's the Bahamas. Right?
Yeah.
But that's the way the game is today. Now, am I saying it's right, wrong? It doesn't matter if I'm thinking it's right or wrong. Okay? People ask me, how do I adapt all this? Whomever's out there are the people I talk about.
Yeah.
I'm not in the decision-making realm of who should stay, who should go, anything like that. My job is to look over and go, okay, let's get to know them a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Who's on the team? Who is it?
Sometimes you get to know them for a year, sometimes 2 years. I knew Andrew Funk for 1 year, right? One, okay? And Pickett for 2. We're at Michigan State a year ago. Did you do that game?
I was at Michigan State a year ago. Yeah.
A year ago?
Yeah.
Remember Pick and Funk coming up and wanting to see? Yeah.
Came up and chatted.
Right. Of course they did, because you still bond with people even if it's a year.
Yeah.
Right? You still do.
I'm sitting here and I believe it was, I forget what game it was. Puff Johnson walks up and goes, hey, Syracuse. Haha. Because he went to Syracuse.
Right.
And he played for UNC and they beat Syracuse.
Right. Well,
and he laughs at me for that.
But the last time Penn State played Syracuse, they beat them too. So,
but that's the thing. Connection. Like,
I know we all beat Syracuse.
I should have brought it up. But like all these things, it's a part of it. It's like they developed a connection with you after 1 and 2 years.
Right,
they were like,
exactly.
Hey, Steve, what's going on?
Hey,
how's life?
Okay, Penn State's playing Illinois last year. Quincy Guerrier played at Syracuse. He played against Penn State at Syracuse. Yeah, it's just the way the game is today. And I'll look out there and go, yeah, like Lake hit the 3-point shot
For Colorado State.
for Colorado State. Well, you know what? Now, he stayed at Colorado State. He played against Penn State 2 years ago down in Charleston. So, these guys move all over the place. And as we pointed out with Grant Nelson, they moved from North Dakota State to Alabama. He turns an ankle, Alabama. Oh, my God.
The world is falling.
Right? When he was at North Dakota State, there were people in Tuscaloosa had no idea he was playing.
Now the dude is a monster.
Now he's indispensable.
Yeah.
Mark Sears. Mark Sears played at Ohio University.
Yeah.
He was in the Mid-American Conference. He's one of the top players in the country now. Offensively, he's a great player. He's got himself in a position where some NBA teams are going to take a long look at him because he can shoot it.
Janai Broom was at Morehead State. And then
when did he go to, I think he played against Penn State, didn't he?
If you can give me 1 second, I can find out.
I think, because Penn State played Morehead.
In what, 22-23?
Yeah, I think so.
22-23.
Did he? Was he there?
He was.
Yeah, so I think he played in the Jordan Center.
And was it like 2022?
Yeah, 22-23.
22-23. I do not see Janai Broom. This may be Auburn's schedule. Give me 1 second. He may have transferred before then.
Okay.
He was at Auburn in 22-23.
Okay.
So he was not there.
Okay. Yeah, but
still, he was at Morehead State. That's the point. He was at Morehead. And we've gone through. There was a player at community college that's in the tournament. Duquesne, Morehead, Yale.
Well, look at Drake.
Uh-huh.
When Ben Holcomb took the job, 4 of his players on his team that he moved from Division II with, he brought with him.
Northwest Missouri Valley, I believe.
And he brought him with him.
Bennett Sturtz.
Right. And guess
Dude
what?
dominates.
And guess what? They can play.
Yeah.
They're good players.
And I'm fairly confident in a few months' time, when Iowa's starting to practice and get ready for next season with Ben McCollum as their head coach, swapping in for Fran McCaffrey. I don't know this for sure, but Bennett Sturtz has 1 year left. He could go to the NBA. He's selected as like a second-round pick right now, or he can go play at Iowa. Dude showed he can play against the best teams.
Yeah, it depends on what their NIL situation is there.
But let's say he goes to Iowa. It's feasible. Well, Tucker DeVree is...
Well, he's going to go to Indiana. He's going to play for Dad.
He's going to play with his dad.
All right. So we got more coming up tomorrow.
Yes. And before we wrap up, I do want to send thoughts and prayers out to Juju Watkins. Tore her ACL last night.
Awful.
Out for the rest of the season.
Awful.
And UCSC went on to win the game, but she's now out for the rest of the season.
So. And they would be scheduled to play here at the Jordan Center next season, just so you know.
Something to watch.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on